Hi everybody, this is Tim N2LCJ, and today I'd like to give you 5 tips on making purchases at a Hamfest. Now, we're not in Hamfest season right yet, but the winter Hamfest is just around the corner, and maybe using my tips you'll help to make a few good purchase decisions and avoid a few mistakes. Now, we all see radios all shined up and repainted, and of course they have the Radio Museum printouts highlighted and recent eBay auctions with the price highlighted that it sold for or the price it's selling for. Is it something you want to own? Tip number 1. If you buy something broken, make sure that either you can fix it, you know somebody that can fix it, or it can be fixed. Good example of that are things like broken Chinese radios like TYTs, Baofengs, things like that. It's probably not worth your time, especially when you consider that you're not saving that much money when you're buying a radio that sells $60 brand new. Tip number 2, make sure it's usable on today's bands. Now, I made a lot of mistakes with 2-meter AM gear. 2-meter AM gear I thought was really cool, and I had a lot of fun restoring it, and I got it on the air and I could talk to absolutely nobody. Another mistake you can make is buying military gear, thinking that you can use it on the ham bands. And I can tell you from experience, there is almost nothing that you can buy that is mil spec that you can use on today's ham bands. Either it is FCC non-compliant, too wide-banded, wrong mode, whatever. If you think it looks cool, that's great, but you're going to go through a lot of headaches trying to use it anywhere. Shortwave radios are another thing. There's really not that much to listen to on the shortwave bands anymore. Of course, you can tune into the ham bands, but unless you like a lot of religious programming and you do some AM DXing, that's the Shack Cat. You better shut up. Shut up! The only other things you're going to hear are Radio Havana, Cuba, and China Radio International. So it's fun for a short period of time. Number 3, don't pay eBay prices. Now, this can work your way in both directions. Those of you that know the prices of ham gear know that there's been a lot of fluctuation. For example, you take like your Heathkit AT1 CW transmitter, first one Heathkit made. I remember when you get these things at Hamfests for $10. Now they're commanding a premium buck on eBay. Some HF radios are tanking in value. Your Tempo ones, broken Kenwoods. It was a poor guy that was trying to sell a TS520 at 5 different Hamfests, and it needed all kinds of work, and he wanted, I think, $350. He's not going to get it. Number 4, avoid used antennas unless you're an antenna expert. I know this firsthand. I've bought used antennas in the past, and when you go through all the work of putting it up, you're saving yourself some money, but you're going to end up with something that's basically a dummy load. If you know the seller, that can be a good thing to buy a used antenna, so one that's lightly used. But it's been my experience that for what antennas sell for, it's generally not worth it. And finally, tip number 5, if you really think it's cool and you have the money, ignore points 1 through 4, because that's what this is all about, having fun. Here's an example of that. I don't know how far off camera it is, but this is what's called a Conrad monitor receiver. This was built in the Cold War days to monitor the civil defense frequencies. It was required that every transmitter station had one of these. Now, it's got crystals for those frequencies and a few different crystals. So I paid $30 and for it. I thought, you know, that'd be great if I could grind the crystals a little bit, get them to use on AM standard radio frequencies and use it as an AM radio. How neat, right? Well, after I had to end up spending a few bucks on some specialty tubes that it had, after I ended up having to spend $15 on a manual that had schematics and all kinds of stuff on it, and even trying to figure out how to work the stupid thing. It still doesn't work. I'll get to it one of these days. But this is an immortal sin. And I'm sure that a lot of you have racks of gear just like this that you like to look at. But if you're looking for something to use, be smart with your Hamfest purchases this season. This is N2LCJ, saying 7 threes.